Hey everyone, welcome back to Garden State Growing. My name is Eric, and today we're going to be putting some tomato plants into containers. I'm going to show you how to prune them, how to single stem them, how to plant them, how to amend the soil, and a neat little watering trick that I came up with, and also how to trellis these up. As you can see, these tomato plants are bent over. They're reaching for the ground. This is what tomato plants do. Remember, a tomato plant is a vine, and everywhere that this stem touches soil, they're going to want to put out roots. A tomato's job, okay, is to produce a fruit that has seeds that's going to go into the ground, propagate, and make another tomato plant, and then a tomato plant's job is done. It is our job as gardeners to trellis these up, let them grow tall, and then we can reap the fruits of our labor and the tomatoes' labor. So let's get on it. I'm going to bring you in, and first I'm going to show you how I prune them. All right, first off, now pruning, I wanted to show you here. As you can see, we have a stem that's coming up the plant, okay? And then we have a bunch of branches that are coming off to each side. Now, as far as pruning goes, see this right here? You have your stem, and then you have your side growth. And then what you have right here is called a sucker. Now these suckers will turn into entirely new tomato plants on your original tomato plant. I don't want my tomato plant putting any energy into trying to duplicate itself by growing a clone of itself, essentially. So in the crook, I'm going to take this and I'm going to pinch off that sucker. I don't want it. Over here, okay, we have another one. We have the main stem, we have the side growth, and we have the sucker. Boom. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go through the entire plant. All right, and right here we have another one. I'm going to get rid of that. And there's some really small ones there, but I'm not even going to bother until they get a little bit bigger and easier to take off. So now I'm going to single stem them, and it's the same as pruning, but with a little bit of a difference, because I'm not going to just take off the suckers. I'm actually going to take off the side growth as well. So down here, all these little leaves, boop, they're going to go, boop, they're going to go. And see, now this is a side shoot with a little sucker right here. I'm going to take the whole thing. Boom, gone. Right here, boom, gone. Right here, boom, gone. Right here, boom, gone. And right here, gone. And this one right here, that's gone. Now when I lift this up, you go, oh my God, what did you just do to your tomato plant? You just took off all the leaves. Trust me, this tomato plant has plenty of leaves, enough to survive, grow, and thrive. Okay? What this is going to do is this is going to allow a lot of aeration, and you'll see when I put them in the pot that I want this air to flow through here, open up the entire bottom of it, and not have a problem with this plant not getting enough aeration to avoid things like powdery mildew and blight. So this one right here is really overgrown. It needs to get taken care of right now. Okay, so let me take care of this one. And like I said, here, so you can identify it, here is the side stem, here is the main root, and here's the sucker. That's going to go. But also, I'm going to take these side shoots as well, all the way down here at the bottom. Now, I've talked to some other gardeners that say don't even bother removing these. When you plant them, just bury the leaves. I've always taken these off, so I'm going to take these off. There's that one big stem there. Let's see. Here's a sucker, another sucker. It's right in the crook, or what people sometimes call the armpit. So that's gone. But I also want to take this side growth off too. So I'm just going to pinch that. That's gone. Now, this plant's not going to need as much water or as much nutrients to grow because I just removed a whole bunch of unnecessary leaf growth. Okay, look at that big one. That's gone. And I'm even going to go up here. There's the sucker. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to take this big side shoot as well. That's gone. Now, this is what's called single stemming a plant. All right, guys. Now it's time to turn this and these into this. Okay, now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that neat little watering trick that I have. What I have here is just a PVC pipe that I took and I drilled some holes. I laid it next to the pot. I saw where the top of the soil level was, and below that I just decided to drill a lot of holes in it. Now I'm positive that I'm not the first one to come up with this, but I haven't seen this method used in containers before, and I'm positive that there's probably some commercial products that you can go out there and spend a fortune on to accomplish the same thing. But this was cheap and easy. I think the entire 10-foot length of this pipe was $2, and I cut it down. I got 10 12-inch pieces out of it. So if I was going to do one plant in here, I would plant the plant and put it somewhere right next to the plant. But since I'm going to put two in here, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it right in the center of the plant like I have here. Now, when I water, I'm going to water down this pipe. I'm going to watch it raise up and go down, raise up and go down, raise up and go down. And once it starts slowing on the going down, I know I have put enough moisture in this soil, and I put enough moisture where it needs to be, down below, down by the roots. I may still top water just a little bit if I see the surface real dry for any surface roots, but mostly I'm just going to water right down this pipe. Okay, so now I'm going to take and I'm going to, in the corner here, now I want you to look at this pot size. It is about 18 inches from corner to corner. That's why I feel safe being able to put two plants in here, especially because I'm single stemming them and they don't have that foliage down below that's going to block all that airflow. Let me show you another pot that I planted a tomato in last year. So last year I put one tomato in this pot, and it was a huge mistake, and I'll tell you why. In my area, since I'm so close to the bay, we get very, very, very high winds up here, and indeterminate plants can grow very, very, very tall. So every time I would come outside after a windy day, I would find this tomato plant on its side, laying on the ground. The dirt would have spilled out. It disturbed the roots. I still got tomatoes off of it. I would just pick it up, pack it in. I still got lots of tomatoes off of it, but I'm sure I did a lot of shock and a lot of damage to the plant by planting it in something so small. Now this is about a gallon and a half to, about a gallon and a half potting. It was not sufficient enough. That's why I upgraded up into these bigger pots. Now, I'm confident with these bigger pots that they're not going to fall over. They are big, they are heavy, and they are going to be fine. And since I have 18 inches from corner to corner, I feel safe on putting two plants in here. Could I put 3 plants in here? Yeah, probably. 4 plants? Really shouldn't. 2 plants will be enough for this pot. It'll leave enough airflow and convection to dry the leaves out if they get wet, and to help prevent any powdery mildew or blight or any other diseases that may affect my tomato plant. So now I'm going to dig all the way down to the bottom. Try not to make too much of a mess. I'm sure my wife is happy that it's a sunny day and I'm outside, not making a mess in the kitchen. Now this is just a regular potting mix that I got from the store. It's all organic, high in peat moss and vermiculite and other humus and organic matter. Okay, so I've dug it down to about where there's about 2 inches of soil down on the bottom. I'm going to take this first plant and as you can see, soil's a little dry. I just watered these last night. That's how quickly they're going through the water. It is not necessarily root bound, but definitely overgrowth. These should have gone out sooner, but I'm not going to say it was a mistake. Okay, I'm going to say it was a calculated risk. Let me get this a little deeper if I can. I want to plant this as deep as I possibly can. I'll put that over there. There we go. There we go. Because everywhere that soil touches this plant, it's going to grow new roots. All these little hairs that are on this tomato plant, roots are going to form. So here we go. I'm going to pile this, press it in. All right, let me get the other one in and then I'll bring you back. Forgot to show you with the other plant. But you see all of these trimmings. This is all that I got off of my other tomato plants. I'm not going to just throw these away or get rid of them. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just trim these up small and I'm going to put them right into the hole. This is going to help with the circular life of plants and growth. There is a lot of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus in these leaves right here. Chlorophyll, organic matter. Okay, you don't even have to really break these up. I'm just doing it because they will decompose a little bit quicker. And these are going to help to refeed my tomato plant. Now, I wouldn't just do this with any random plant because, you know, you don't want to put weeds down in by your roots. But since I know they're tomato plants, I don't mind. I'm going to put them down there. That's perfectly fine. And they're going to help refeed the mother plant. So this is the Winnipsenaaskan, I can't even pronounce it, I'm sorry. Winnipsenaaskan peach tomato. Beautiful tomato. I'll put a picture up so you can see. And I'm going to push this down and get this down as far as I can go. Put all of this soil back, press it down. And everywhere that the stem touches soil, it's going to grow roots. It's going to be a healthier plant, a sturdier plant, and it's going to produce more fruit because it has the ability to uptake nutrients much better than if you had just planted it up at the surface. So there we go. We have pruned them. We have single stem them. As this plant grows taller, I'm sure I'm going to wind up taking this branch off. And same thing with this one. As this one starts to grow taller, I'm going to wind up taking this plant off, this branch off. I want it single stemmed for about 18 inches to 2 feet. You can do more, you can do less. Experiment, figure out which works best for you. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to trellis them up. There's a lot of different methods for trellising. You could use tomato cages, but having 2 tomato cages right next to each other, I find it hard to go in and prune the plants as they grow up. Plus, these are indeterminate plants. They can grow up to as much as 10 feet tall. Now that I'm putting them in containers, they probably won't. They may get 6 feet tall to 8 feet tall. So there are a bunch of different options. You can put a stick up the middle. Okay, like I could just take this, put this in the middle here. Okay, and then go and tie some strings down to the plants, wrap them around, you know, as they grow up. Or I can take one of these. Now this is just a plastic stick. I have a bamboo one here that you could use as well. That's actually much taller and I wouldn't have to replace it soon. So over here on this one, I'm going to put, right next to the stem, I'm going to put this bamboo one that's about 6 feet tall. Over here on this one, I'm going to put this plastic one that is only about 3.5 foot tall. This, depending on how tall my plant grows, I may have to replace and put something in taller. So now that I've got it in the pot, I'm going to trellis it up. Now the easiest way I found personally to trellis is taking a rubber band. you don't want to use anything that's too tight, too wiry, like garbage ties or zip ties. As the plant grows, if you put it on too tight, it's going to impinge the stem and it's going to make it very difficult, and you could damage your plant, cut off the stem, and kill whatever's above it. So these rubber bands are nice and gentle. I'm not going to put them on tight. I'm going to leave a lot of room, and I'm going to put it right above one of these crooks. Okay, when I water this is going to stand up a little bit, so I'm not that worried about it. I'm going to take another one. I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to bring you in to show you when I do this one here. What I also like about rubber bands is, say I wanted to move this up to this crook up here, I can actually take it, stretch it out, put the side shoot through it, bring it back, and now I have it up here, which is fine. But I'm going to put another one down right here where the other one was. Okay. The swaying with the wind and everything, the plant's going to recognize that, and it's going to want to strengthen the stem and make it a nice thicker stem to hold this plant up nice and tight. So let me bring you in and let me show you doing me trellising up this one. Airplane. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you how to trellis these up from a close-up angle. Actually, let me move this back just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is, now some people like to put their trellis underneath the crook, but then what I found is a lot of times whatever trellising device you're using will slide down and eventually let the plant fall over. So what I do is I'm going to come underneath, and then I'm going to go over. So I got one coming underneath, one going over the side lateral branch. And nice and loosely, I'm going to take this and I'm going to tie a knot in it. This rubber band is going to give a lot of flexibility. And that's it. It's trellised up. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I want another one up top here. So I'm going to come underneath, and then I'm going to go over. So I came underneath the lateral branch and then over the lateral branch. And as loosely as possible, I'm going to tie that on. Okay. And that is great. I would like that one to be a little bit looser up top. If I could, I might buy that roll of elastic string that you can get at Home Depot or online. So I have a little bit more flexibility. I might come back and replace that one because it is a little too tight, and as it grows, it might strangle the plant out. So that's it for now. We're going to move on to amending the soil. All right, now what I mean by amending the soil, I just mean adding some nutrients, adding some fertilizer and other stuff. So what I have here in this cup, it's pretty much that much worm compost. It's worm poop. And on top, I have a little granulized chicken manure, okay, which is a great fertilizer. Both of these are all natural, and they're very low on the NPK scale. They're just going to help give a little essential nutrients to this soil. So I'm just going to put this down all around, basically by where the roots are. I'm not really going to put it in the center of the pot. It's not really that necessary right now. So last but not least, I'm going to put a little fertilization nutrients here. Now what I have here, I'll show you, is what I use mostly because it's the most readily available, is Dr. Earth's homegrown organic natural tomato and vegetable fertilizer. It is a 463, which is great because it's higher in phosphorus, and that's great for root growth. So I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to sprinkle it on top. And that's about it. You know, a handful and a half. And I'm going to take the chicken manure, the worm castings, the fertilizer, and I'm just going to mix this into the first couple inches of the soil, just about the first 3 inches. Now let me get the hose and I'll show you how I water these. Okay guys, as I was going to get the watering hose to water in my tomato plants, where I saw one of my local people walking her dog down the street, and her dog was very interested in my dog, and they were kind of talking to each other through the fence. She was very respectful and responsible. She did have a mask on, did not want to approach too close, social distancing, and or as I like to say, physical distancing, okay? And her dog Sasha was playing with my dog. It was very cute, and she made some comments about admiring what I'm doing to my garden here, and we started talking for a little bit. Her name was Glow, and I just thought that was incredible. What a beautiful name to have, Glow. It was very serendipitous of such a beautiful day here and meeting someone new. And of course, I had to plug my YouTube channel, Garden Stay Growing. Glow, if you're listening, if you're watching, shout out. I hope you join Garden Stay Growing. I hope you subscribe to this channel. I know you were mentioning that you have a very small property and you don't have much room to grow, but you're going to attempt it anyway. You said you're going to try the Three Sisters. I have a video on corn, peas, and squash, and I hope you really enjoy some of the content here. All right, everyone, so now it's time to water these in. Now, like I said, I added this little pipe so I can get water down deep, okay? And I'm gonna use this for every time I water. I might do a small top dressing of water and then use this. But the thing is I amended this soil. I put worm compost, I put chicken manure, and I put a little bit of the Dr. Earth vegetable fertilizer down. So I'm going to want to top water this to bring those nutrients from the first couple inches down into the roots. Whoops. All right, starting to puddle up. That's good. That's nice and wet. Now I will check on this in a couple minutes to see if water is draining out of the bottom of the pot. If it's not, that's when I'm going to come and I'm going to add water to here. So how do I check to see if my plants need water? Well, I did this pot yesterday and I planted them in, and just from touching the top I can tell that it's already moist. But even if the top was dry, I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to dip it down into the pot, okay, and maybe pinch a little bit of soil from down below, and as I could see, it is plenty moist. It is exactly where I want it, so I'm not going to water this one again. If you guys are wondering what tomato plants these are, like I said, this is the Whippispachacon peach tomato. Please, if someone knows how to pronounce that, let me know. I don't, and I really don't care. And over here on this one, these are my gobstoppers. These are both indeterminate plants. I suggest that if you're going to grow tomato plants in containers, if you don't have the ability to trellis them up correctly, or you're worried that you don't know how to trellis them up correctly, I suggest you do determinate tomatoes. They will only grow to about the height of a stick. I would still trellis them up to keep them from bending over or breaking in the wind, but they are not going to get much more than 3 to 4 foot tall, even if you have an extremely healthy plant. So that's it today for putting tomatoes in the containers. I hope that I gave you some information on how to prune your tomato plant by removing suckers, how to single stem your tomato plant, and the importance of single stemming your tomato plant. Now, that being said, if these were determinate tomatoes, I would not single stem them. I might take off some of the bottom leaves as much, but I would not do as drastic as I'm doing with my indeterminate plants. My indeterminate plants will keep on growing and producing more foliage If you cut off the bottom stems, lateral growth of your determinate tomato plants, you could be getting rid of a lot of tomatoes that plant was going to grow, and now you're only going to wind up getting 3 or 4 tomatoes instead of the 12 that it would have produced. So we trellis these. I'm training them to grow up. Remember, I don't want them flopping down. I don't want leaves touching the dirt. The dirt is where the bacteria and the microbes and the blight and everything else lives. We fertilized it. We gave it some nutrition. Now these are going to go into the corner of my deck, but I am going to bring them inside before I go to work today at 2 o'clock, because these have not been out in full sun yet for a full day. They've been in my greenhouse. My greenhouse is like having sunscreen on when you go to the beach. Today is like going to the beach without sunscreen on. I think I'm even getting a little bit of a tan here today, but our nights have still been cold. They've still been dipping into the 30s, you know, low 40s, high 30s. I don't want these plants to stress. I have plants that I put into my garden bed. I have one tomato plant that I put in my garden bed as a test plant. I want to see how well it does in the temperatures right now. If that survives, if that thrives, if that grows, then I will know it is time to start getting my tomatoes into the raised bed, and I will start getting them out there with the hoop houses on the plastic there. And I'm going to allow them to get sun for 4 or 5 hours a day, and then I'm going to cover them up, and I'm going to let them get, you know, the next day I'm going to let them get 4 or 5 hours of sun, and then I'm going to cover them up until I feel that they're strong enough. After about 4 days of doing that, I will remove the plastic. After I'm convinced that we do not have a problem with frost at night, I will remove that plastic. I will let them get full sun for an entire day. If I see that the weather is going to dip down into the low 40s, I will pull that plastic back over them at night and keep them nice and safe. So if you learned something during this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this with your friends and your family, hit that notification bell so you see every time I put out a new video. I think this was a very comprehensive video on planting tomatoes in containers and my specialized little watering devices that are going to bring water down to the roots. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you, and I will see you on the next episode.